Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the extraordinary life and legacy of a man who traveled the entire universe without ever leaving his chair. Of course, we're talking about the one and only Stephen Hawking.
I mean, listen to that. To know the mind of God. That right there tells you everything about the ambition that drove one of the greatest scientific minds in history. For Hawking, this was never just about solving equations. No, it was about understanding the very fabric of reality itself.
So our story, it doesn't begin with a black hole or some grand cosmic discovery. It actually starts with a young genius whose potential seemed absolutely limitless, right up until the moment he was handed a devastating verdict.
You see, as an undergrad at Oxford, Stephen Hawking found the work, well, ridiculously easy. That was his phrase. He was so brilliant that he was just bored. He figured he only studied about 1,000 hours over his entire 3 years. Instead, he joined the rowing team, built this kind of daredevil reputation, basically just coasting on his natural genius.
And then, just as his real scientific career was getting started, everything changed. He was a PhD student at Cambridge, only 21, and suddenly, his world was shattered. He started experiencing some clumsiness, trips, falls, and then came the diagnosis: motor neurone disease, also known as ALS, a slow, progressive, paralyzing illness.
And the prognosis? It was absolutely shocking. The doctors gave him just 2 years. 2 years to live. I mean, can you imagine that? You're 21 years old and you're told your life, your work, your entire future, it's all over before it's even really begun?
But here's the thing. Instead of falling into despair, something incredible happened. That diagnosis, it actually ignited a new fire in him. He got engaged to his future wife, Jane Wilde, and that gave him, in his own words, something to live for. Suddenly, this death sentence, it became a life sentence in the best possible way. It was a powerful call to action.
And so as his physical world started to shrink, his mind did the exact opposite. It exploded. It expanded to encompass the entire cosmos. And in the process, he was about to challenge the very foundations of physics.
So over the next couple of decades, completely defying that 2-year prognosis, by the way, Hawking just revolutionized our understanding of the universe. He and Roger Penrose proved the universe had to have started as a singularity, this infinitely tiny, dense point. He came up with his theory on black holes, and he was appointed the Lucasian Professor of Mathematics at Cambridge. That's the same job Isaac Newton had. Just incredible.
So then he turned his attention to one of the most mysterious, most mind-bending objects in the entire universe, the black hole. And he asked a really simple question, a question that would change everything we thought we knew.
And this led to maybe his most famous breakthrough of all. See, he took the really weird rules of quantum mechanics, the physics of tiny, tiny particles, and he applied them to the massive gravity of a black hole. And his math showed something that seemed impossible. Black holes aren't actually completely black. They glow. They leak a tiny stream of particles. We now call it Hawking radiation. Now, this was a total bombshell for the world of physics. I mean, up until then, everyone thought black holes were these eternal cosmic vacuum cleaners. Once something went in, it never came out. But Hawking showed that no, they can actually shrink. They can evaporate and disappear over, unbelievably long periods of time. People thought he was crazy at first, but now it's seen as a massive breakthrough. And he used that same kind of bold thinking to tackle the origin of the universe itself. He came up with this no-boundary proposal. The idea is, asking what came before the Big Bang is, well, it's like asking what's north of the North Pole. The question doesn't make any sense, right? North doesn't exist at the pole. He argued it's the same with time. Time itself began at the Big Bang, which means the universe is this totally self-contained thing.
So, all while he's rewriting the laws of the universe, Hawking's physical world is getting smaller and smaller. He's confined to a wheelchair, he loses his natural voice, but he finds a new way, an even more powerful way, to share his vision with the entire world.
237. What is that? That's the number of weeks his 1988 book, A Brief History of Time, stayed on the bestseller list. That's a record breaker. We're talking millions and millions of copies sold. He took this incredibly complex science and made it accessible to everybody.
And just like that, he transformed. He wasn't just some revered professor anymore. He became a genuine cultural icon. The man in the chair with that computer voice, he became this global symbol of pure intellect, and maybe more importantly, of sheer human will.
And his reach was just immense.
He wasn't stuck in some dusty old textbook. No way. He was on Star Trek, playing poker with data. He had a recurring role on The Simpsons. His voice was sampled by Pink Floyd. He even showed up in a Monty Python sketch. He single-handedly brought theoretical physics right into the heart of pop culture.
And of course, that voice became his trademark, right? After he lost his own speech completely in 1985, he had to communicate through this incredible piece of technology that evolved over the years. At first, it was spelling things out by raising his eyebrows. Then he used a hand switch, and eventually he was controlling the whole thing with a single muscle in his cheek. He even kept that original, iconic, American-accented computer voice because, as he said, he identified with it.
So, having lived more than 50 years past that initial diagnosis, 50 years, Stephen Hawking left us with more than just scientific theories. He left us with some really profound and kind of urgent questions about our own future.
Yeah, in his later years, he really used his platform to issue some pretty stark warnings. He was convinced that, for humanity to survive in the long run, we had to get out into space and colonize other worlds. He warned us about AI, saying it could be the biggest event in our history, or the last. And he was very clear about his beliefs, arguing that the laws of science offer a much more convincing explanation for the universe than God does. He passed away on March 14, 2018, at the age of 76, and his ashes, they were interred in Westminster Abbey, taking his rightful place in history, right between the graves of Isaac Newton and Charles Darwin. Think about that company: a physicist, a biologist, and now a cosmologist.
And on his memorial stone, it's not just his name. There's an equation. It's the Bekenstein-Hawking formula, his life's work forever linking black holes to thermodynamics. It's just this beautiful, perfect testament to everything he accomplished. And you know, after everything, all the immense challenges he faced, his final message wasn't one of complaint or sadness. It was one of pure wonder and gratitude for our brief, precious moment in this grand universe.
In the end, Stephen Hawking showed us the incredible power of a mind that is truly unbound by physical limits. So his real legacy, it isn't just in the equations on his gravestone. It's in the question he leaves for every single one of us. As we face our own challenges, how will we choose to expand our own universe?